Everybody, it's your girl Miss Philly. We're back at it again. Let's talk about it. We had our women's national championship. Kudos, hats off, congratulations, round of applause to South Carolina, Miss Dawn Stanley. It was a well-deserved team. They earned it. Anybody that says anything else, you're a hater. Yeah, that's you. But let's kind of get into the game a little bit, because everybody I feel like there were people that, counting South Carolina like, oh, Caitlin Clark, she gonna win it, she gonna get it, she's the GOAT, everything like that, and they didn't really look at, who Caitlin Clark was going up against. I mean, when you think about it, like, Caitlin Clark in Iowa, for the most part, Caitlin Clark is a one-man kind of show. South Carolina, they play as a team. They don't have any big U's, little I's. Like, there is really like a team dynamic there. Like, it's all about the team. And Dawn Stanley, as a coach, she doesn't let them move in any capacity less. I feel like when the game first started, it made me a little nervous, because I'm like, okay, so this is like a super sensitive touch. I felt like we was playing a game of Operation, like when you was a child. Like, any little tap that South Carolina gave Iowa, like, the foul calls were crazy. Like, we were literally just tap fouls. So I was just like, I know South Carolina's still gonna pull that out, but I feel like they're gonna make it so much harder for them than it really was. It wasn't going to give it to them like it was earned for them. There was also even a point where Caitlin Clark, when Raven Johnson was defending her, Caitlin Clark pushed off the entire time. She pushed off. And Raven Johnson actually got her second foul in that type of defense scramble. But the entire time that she was, D'ing up Caitlin Clark, I feel like she played very good defense. It was clean. It was to the point where it was frustrating. Like, there was not a screen that could stop her. She was moving around screens. She was switching off. She made sure that she didn't leave any opportunity for Caitlin Clark to get any shot off. And I do think it was a nutty call, the one call that they called on Raven Johnson, the foul that they called on her. It was her second foul, where Caitlin Clark was pushing off the whole time. And the one time Raven Johnson went to go, like, push a little bit, and it wasn't even hard, but she went to go push a little bit. They called that on her. But, I mean, it is what it is. We knew those things was coming. We knew those things were going to happen. It was Iowa. They did. I feel like everybody wanted the narrative to be where Caitlin Clark was going to win, but South Carolina wasn't having that, and I didn't question it at all, to be honest. I never thought that it was going to even come close. And I definitely want to cover my girl Camila Cardoso. Like, she didn't have this game easy at all. In my personal opinion, out of the 4 fouls that she got, 3 of them she didn't even earn. Like, they were really, like, on her. And I have this discussion all the time with people when it's a debate back and forth, that as a big man, some big men are kind of at a disadvantage, because especially when the matchup is a smaller person, you never know how that call gonna go. It could be because you're bigger, you're more dominant, it was automatically a foul, even though it may not have been. It was just an odd matchup. Or sometimes you're a big man, it's a small person, and if your angle is right, and depending on what type of ref you have, might get away with calls or whatever the case may be. But they did her dirty. They did her dirty this game. And she still maintained level-headed. She still did what it is she had to do. She still grabbed boards. She stays being a crucial player. I mean, even if you look at all the other players, like South Carolina's team as a whole, you can sit here and point out something that wise about each individual player. Like, everybody brought something to the court. Everybody brought something to it. Even Watkins, like, the only thing about Watkins that I, don't really agree, she's not the best shooter, but the one thing she is going to do is she's going to grab them boards. If she's there, it's not one board that she's leaving. She's not. She's fighting for it. She's doing whatever she got to do, and she's going to grab them boards. Same with Camila Cardoso. I also feel like, with her, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen with her next level wise. After watching this game, she definitely does have the talent, but I just feel like there's a little bit more growth that can take place, a little more grooming that needs to be done. First things first, in my personal opinion, as a big man, for her height and even in the type of like game this was, there was a lot of times where she'd grab a board and she'd bring the ball down. She'd bring the ball down and she'll do something extra instead of just grabbing the board and putting the ball back up. She has the dominance to be able to do that. So, I mean, I feel like that's something that, she's going to have to work on and be groomed with. But overall, the hustle that South Carolina had was unmatched. Like, that's what got them. Even in the beginning, like, it started off slow. And I was just like, oh, man, I don't know how this is going to go. But they definitely did pull it out, just like I knew that they would. This game was personal for them. It was very personal. They weren't going to just leave it. You don't have the type of season that you have and then get to the end and you don't finish. So kudos to them. This was a good one. I'm not even gonna lie, I have no issues with Caitlin Clark at all. None at all. But it was nice to see it being brought down a little bit. Just a little bit. Because even, when they played Connecticut, like, that was a lucky call. I mean, everybody wants to argue whether the call was real or not, or valid. It should have been called. Technically, the call wasn't wrong, but that was the first. Moving screens had been happening the entire game, and that was really the only one that they called the entire game. So should they have called that? No, because you didn't call the rest of them, and that was a crucial play, that got Iowa to the next level. But the team that Iowa was playing in the next level, which was South Carolina, those things weren't going to happen. They weren't going to just be easy. Another thing that I noticed that, like, I wasn't too fond of was in the beginning the defense that Dawn Stanley was running. I felt like the defense that she was running for South Carolina, they focused a lot more in the paint than they did outside. Iowa isn't like a heavily supported team kind of thing. Like, they have their role players and the people that did show up and do what it was, that they needed to do for them tonight for the championship. But the defense that Dawn Stanley was running, it seemed like she played it a little more inside the paint. And Iowa didn't have any threats inside the paint. At the end of the day, you had to worry about their players and outside shooting. So I felt like that wasn't really heavily covered. One thing that she did perfectly, and it was definitely down to a T, was putting Raven Johnson on Caitlin Clark. Raven Johnson said from last year, before they even got to the championship, that when Iowa won last year, Caitlin Clark kind of like flagged her off. She said, so she got in the gym and she did 5,000 free throws. 5,000 free throws, not 500, not 50, not 5,000 free throws. Just because she felt like she didn't perform the way that she should have when it came to Iowa last game. So I want to acknowledge that personally, because Raven Johnson's scoring might not have been what she wanted it to be this game, but she executed and she was a leader. She was a bona fide leader. She was doing on the court. She D'd Caitlin Clark up so bad to the point that by the time the fourth quarter came, Caitlin Clark was giving up. She was giving up. She started throwing the ball anywhere. She started forcing layups. She started doing things that was outside of like her character. Raven Johnson didn't leave her open to get too many of those crazy shots off. And the ones that she did, she struggled with. And so it was kind of nice to see, like, the real defense being played on her, giving her a challenge. I feel like a lot of teams didn't challenge her. When you look back at the Iowa versus LSU game, Haley Van Lith was not the person to be guarding her. She just wasn't. And so, because she was on her, Caitlin Clark was getting a lot of things off. A lot of things was sliding. And so, it's like looking at it now, it's like, yeah, you came across some defense, somebody to apply some pressure to you. So hats off to Raven Johnson. She didn't score like how she wanted to because that was a goal of hers. But she definitely showed up and she made an impact because she is the reason why Caitlin Clark even started to just like, she just started to give up for real. Like, she was used to the game going a certain way. She was used to being a star, the more dominant one. And in this case, it wasn't happening that way for her. And she didn't really know how to handle it. So I'm also interested to see how she's going to deal with that and maneuver through that on the next level, because you're going against a whole different type of competition at this point. So I don't know. We're going to stay tuned for that part because I'm kind of intrigued a little bit to see where that's going to go. And with that being said, I mean, that's it. Iowa seen what it was. South Carolina won. They deserved it. I mean, going 38-0. That's definitely something to be proud of. It's a major accomplishment. But I'm also excited to see what South Carolina is going to do next year, because the only person that they're really losing is Camila Cardoza. So they still have all of their people returning. The chemistry could still be there. The flow of everything, and they are getting a nice little new addition to their team next year. Her name is Joyce. She's gonna be something not to be reckoned with as well. But also, I do want to say hats off to Dawn Stanley and even her poise in the way that she is, full of nothing but class. The moment that she took out to even say what she said to Caitlin Clark. Everyone can say what they want to say about Caitlin Clark and how she moves and you know what they think the next level is going to bring to her. But she, along with a few others, did bring the excitement back to women's basketball. A lot of people weren't even watching women's basketball before, partially through last year and then this year. When they did the stats and everything and the comparisons of women's basketball versus men's basketball, the women's basketball stats far superseded the men by tons, thousands actually. So I did think that was a very classy thing for her to do, because I mean, granted, when you give credit where it's due, and Caitlin Clark does deserve some credit. So you know, for that, I feel like that was very classy. I commend Dawn. I'm not even gonna lie, I didn't expect anything less from her, but you know, you gotta address the things. You gotta address them when you see them, and when you have love and passion for the game, and you know the game, you address those that play a part in it. So you know, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen on the 15th. It's gonna be very interesting watching the draft. But yeah, I mean, that's all I could say. Congratulations, South Carolina, y'all did it. Until next time, next video, next moment, next gathering, it's your girl, Miss Philly. I'll see y'all later. Thanks for tuning in.